Welcome to the Homeschool High School podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. I'm Vicki, and I'm so excited to talk again to my friend Keisha Berry, who is a subject matter expert in young people who learn differently. And we're going to talk about her resources at Spectrum Education and Therapy Center. Just hold on, because you got to first hear this story. So Keisha and I were both at the Machi conference a few months ago. And this is why I respect her so much. So we were both in the vendor hall, and the vendor hall had two sections. So one was a long hallway, and then there was a large room off to the side at the end of the hallway. And Keisha and I were next to each other with our little vendor tables. So it was early in the morning. The doors had just opened for people to come into the building. And I tell you, I didn't even have my brain on. I couldn't even talk, but I was watching people come in. And this poor grandmother who was homeschooling her kid had she showed up at the crack of the doors opening. She was determined to find help for her grandson who was having learning problems, and she couldn't figure out how to help him find the resources he needed. And so she'd made it all the way down the vendor hall, and you could see desperation as she walked into the room. It was just radiating off of her. And so I was watching, and she started just talking to the room, like, I'm my grandson, and I need help, and he needs help. And Keisha just stood up, and in this authoritative, calm voice, like a subject matter expert who knows everything's going to be okay, said something like, "There's help. We'll get you help." And you could I just watched that grandmother, and the calm descended from the top of her head down her face, and her body relaxed. And she just wandered over to you, and y'all chatted. And it was like, oh, the world is a better place now because that one grandmother got what she needed. And if that was all the conference was about, that was enough for me, just watching that moment of help for someone who needed help. So that calm expertise is what Keisha and what she brings to the table is. So, all right, with that lovely story, um, both of us have kids who have some learning differences,
We do.
and our my kids have all made it to adulthood thanks to I had access to resources to help my kids who needed help when they were going along, because I had a mother who's an educational psychologist. So I would just call her up on the phone and say this and this, and she would say this and this, and so we could get things done. But not many people have that. So tell us about, if you don't mind, we were talking before we started recording about your son who is off in Saudi Arabia right now. Like, tell about his adventures.
Absolutely. So first, let me start from the very beginning of
Mhm.
his homeschool journey, which was the beginning of my homeschool journey. Um, I considered homeschooling when I started to get comments on his report card. He was in the first grade, that he
Mhm.
was inattentive and hyperactive. Straight A
Mhm.
student, but inattentive and hyperactive. And I knew at that point, I was working in his school as a special education teacher at the time. And I knew at that point that he needed something that he was not getting in school.
Mhm.
And my sister, who has also been on your podcast before,
Yeah.
Dr. Rochelle Matthews Somerville, she was already homeschooling. And she said to me, why don't you give this a try? And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was going to be a temporary situation. And next
Mhm.
thing I know, it's 16 years later. Um,
Yeah.
and you know what? Taking him out of school did not take away his inattentiveness or his hyperactivity.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, one of the challenges that he had in school was, I don't know if you remember, like the red light, yellow light, green
Yes.
light behavior system. He had
Yes.
such a hard time getting a green light, but it was you could see that he was sad about it, as a
Yeah.
6-year-old boy, because he really, really would try. And to be honest with you, if we use that system at home, he probably would continue to earn red and yellow. But
Yeah.
we got rid of the system,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we taught him how to manage himself to the best of our ability. Taught him strategies with
Mhm.
executive functioning. And I love how you mentioned that your mother was an educational psychologist. My sister Rochelle She's an expert in special education and executive functioning, so she was able to help. My mother was also in education, so we kind of just adapted to. And when I
Mhm.
say we, I mean it was a village when
Uh-huh.
I
Mhm.
first started homeschooling. But we
Mhm.
kind of just adapted to what his needs were. We didn't require him to sit at a desk. We taught him how to take notes. We taught him how to use highlighters. As electronics really became a thing, we taught him how to use his calendar, and he
Mhm.
is the app and electronic king. That's how he
Mhm.
organizes his life. He
Mhm.
makes all of his calendars are synced. He knows how to throw his syllabus into AI, and then AI links up with other features that he uses in his phone. So he's figured it out. But ADHD grew with him.
Yes.
And what I explain to people when I explain ADHD as a young adult is that the inattentiveness grows with him.
Yes.
And there's still little instances where it's like, yep, you're still you.
Mhm.
And the example leading us up to what you just mentioned was the story I shared about him accidentally applying to a job in Saudi Arabia. Now, how exactly does that happen? So he had been actually interviewing for this job for a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
He had multiple interviews with different people. Never really dawned on him to read the details, but guess what? When he was in the fifth grade, he never read all of the directions either.
I know that. I know that. Yep.
Yeah, never read all of the directions. And so, long story short, he figured out about the last interview that he was going to Saudi Arabia because they mentioned it. And he's like, "Oh, where is it? Oh, Saudi Arabia." He kind of just played it off like he knew the whole time. And then he did research, and literally between the time of the last interview and when he got on the plane, it was 2 weeks. And he just got online, and that homeschool theory that we have, that we teach our children how to learn, not what to learn. He got online. He figured out, what he needed to do. He learned a little bit, or a lot of it, about the culture to make sure that he was dressed, appropriately, and he was respectful of their customs. And next thing I know, in 2 weeks, he's on a plane. It was very sudden. It was very sudden, but he's there,
Yeah.
living his best life. And it just, that the inattentiveness has grown with him, and it's always going to be a part of his life.
Yeah, but it has not prevented his success. And what my theory is ADHD, and I think more people are saying this as well, is it's just a different kind of brain working, and
Yeah.
it's neurodiversity of a kind.
Yeah.
And the ADHD makes you more able, if you know how to manage yourself and know how to learn
Mhm.
and believe in what how God has made you.
Yeah.
Then when you find out you're going to Saudi Arabia, you just get on the plane and go.
Yeah.
But he also had adventures before that. So he was in study abroad, right? Like God made him a globetrotter also, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So he was in study abroad in the spring. He was in Greece. And
Mhm.
his senior year, actually, that was his first solo trip. And by solo, he didn't go by himself, but he went with an organization. He actually went to Senegal. And he's majoring in cultural anthropology. So his trips around the globe are actually not surprising to me at all. And my mother and I, we're both, fairly anxious people. And so him traveling around and traveling abroad, we're especially knowing that he doesn't read all of the details,
Yeah.
right? That's just not his thing. But I think it gives him audacity. And I think audacity is great for a learner with his type of style. He is cautious. He knows how to be cautious.
Yeah.
Sometimes there have to be blaring signals that
Yeah.
that he needs to exhibit some caution. But it has enabled him to think big. I mean, he
Yeah.
thinks and he considers things that I would have never thought of. So I think it actually has worked in his favor. And actually, when you think of, people with neurodivergence, it's not necessarily something to fix, but it's something to learn to live with. And he
Yeah.
has learned to truly embrace
Yeah.
himself. It's working for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just made him able to see the world as something interesting. And what an interesting major. It fits that kind of personality. So what adventures. So how did you get him? Because your training is not just special ed, but your master's is in speech therapy and occupational therapy. So multi levels of expertise that you have. So and then you have access to other experts, which is fun. It takes a village. This
Mhm.
is why I want to talk to people. I want them to be able to connect to your package of expertise here. Um, how did you get and your village get you guys help your son get through the not able to get a green light to a guy who his world is a green light, he yeah.
That's a great question. So my master's degree is actually in communication sciences and disorders, which is the
Yeah.
speech and language pathology.
Mhm.
But I have always worked in multidisciplinary settings, and just by
Mhm.
nature of the population that I enjoy working with, I've worked very closely with occupational therapists. I don't have any formal training in that particular area. But in
Mhm.
terms of helping him realize that his life is a green light, I
Mhm.
think that by the time he figured out that he could learn anything that he wanted to learn, he sort of figured that out on his own. We didn't really place parameters around what he learned. And guess what? He didn't always want to learn things that we thought he should learn about. But
Yes.
we didn't block him. Once a kid figures out how to research and how to learn about things, it becomes a big wide world. So very early,
Mhm.
he learned things that I didn't even know
Mhm.
about. He was able to research topics. I remember during the pandemic, it just made no sense to him why the world couldn't get a hold on this thing. And
Uh,
so he decided to do some research online and try to see, have we ever experienced anything like this before, and what did we do? So he actually researched the Ebola pandemic. Um,
oh,
and he learned a lot about what the government did and how it, became really a political kind of thing. And he was able to draw comparisons. And he actually started to understand our current situation a lot more.
mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think that once we gave him the freedom to learn, which is
Yeah,
not restricted by textbooks, we say
yeah,
you can learn about it. I mean, there are certain things that you're required to do. We live in the state of Maryland, and we have, I think it's 7 subjects that we are required to show that you're doing regular and thorough instruction.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
but outside of that, he had the freedom to learn, and I think providing him with that freedom to learn exposed him to cultures,
Yeah.
experiences, and people. That he wanted to know more about, and also ever since he was a little boy, he was a National Geographic magazine fanatic. So
Adorable.
so
Mhm.
he had those subscriptions probably the duration of his homeschool education, and
Mhm.
he read and learned about these other places in the world. So, now when he's going to Greece, to study abroad, and he's taking pictures of some of the ruins and some of the museums, he's remembering where he first saw this in a Nat Geo magazine. There are certain magazines where he still has that we are not allowed to touch. They're
Yeah.
in the house, and he's like, "Mom, until I get my own house, do not even my sisters, no one can touch these limited edition magazines." And so
Mhm.
the second part of learning, which is perhaps chapter 2 of his life, it's bringing books to life. Literally, it's bringing things
Mhm.
that he learned in homeschool to life. And so he's doing, I mean, we didn't plan this, but he's doing
Yeah.
exactly how I would expect him to make these connections in his young adult life.
So his ADHD has not limited his life. In fact, he doesn't think with the lid on the box. He's
Correct.
able to say, "Hey, I saw Nat Geo. Maybe I'll go see it someday in person." And that curiosity and the love of learning has helped his life keep growing. And also, he's had to gain some tools on how you manage the details
Hmm.
and how you roll with it when the details got missed.
Yeah.
So, but
He
the Saudi Arabia story is just the best. Like when he found out he's going to Saudi Arabia, he just rolled with it. It's like,
Yes, he just rolled with it, and we didn't have any choice but to roll with it
mhm,
either. And he's always thinking. That part of ADHD definitely shows up. He is always thinking about many things at the same time. But he just told me the other day, "Hey, Mom, I found this really cool feature on Google where you can tell Google to group the tabs that are open, and Google will group them based on topic." So now he can think about a million things at once, and he has Google to assist him by compartmentalizing them for him. So with technology and his brain, he's figured out how to use technology to his benefit.
That is the best ADHD tool ever.
As I look at all the top tabs at the top of my screen, wondering,
Well, that's exactly what I was, because when other people look at my screen and they see the 40 tabs that are open, you just see the eyes roll, you know. So yeah, so what he did then is grow up in a house that he learned to believe in himself and look for tools and love learning and all. So, all right, let's shift over to, because you've walked the walk, and also you believe in these young people and you believe in their homeschool parents and their homeschool grandparents. And that day at Machi, when I just watched that grandmother just calm down, I go like, more people need to know about these resources. So tell a little bit about Spectrum Education and Therapy Center.
Yeah. You know what, when I think about that grandmother that day, it kind of reminds me of the old Apple commercials where they would say there's an app for that.
Okay.
That's really what I feel when I think about families who have
Mhm.
learners who learn differently. There's
Mhm.
an app for that. Whatever your situation is, there's an app for that. There's a person for that. There's an organization for that. There's a resource for that. And
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that I end up in spaces. And I really do believe that this is, I divinely end up in these spaces, and
Mhm.
we were meant to connect because families just need to know that it exists, and they
Yeah.
just need someone to help them connect to resources. So when I started Spectrum Education and Therapy Center, so I shared that I was a special education teacher and now I'm a speech language pathologist. I really wanted to do both. I wanted to do the education piece and I wanted to do the therapy piece.
Mhm.
And prior to the pandemic, I had always wanted to start a practice that supported homeschoolers, but it
Mhm.
was really hard to convince people that you could homeschool your child that had an IEP or that would need an IEP, because the first
Mhm.
question that parents ask is, I can't provide all of the resources, the
Yeah.
strategies, the accommodations, or the modifications that are on the IEP.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create a one-stop shop so that anytime I met someone, they could not use that.
Yes.
That could not be the reason that they were not homeschooling. So I created a multidisciplinary practice. So I have speech language pathologists. We offer occupational therapy. We have psychologists who can assist with those triannual
Mhm.
evaluations that children and families receive while they're in school. We
Yes.
have social workers. Social work and mental health support is something that we added recently, just
Oh,
because I recognize that many families were starting to homeschool because their children were really facing mental health challenges
yes.
in a
Yes.
school-based setting. So we did add
Yes.
that as a service. We
Yeah.
do academic coaching. We do tutoring where we have
Mhm.
special educators who can also do like homeschool consultations with helping families get set up with
Mhm.
evaluations, selecting curriculum, etc. So we try to be a hub or a safe space for families,
Mhm.
not just in our local area. We're actually located in Maryland, and I shared this with you earlier that I'm very thankful for platforms like yours, because it exposes our resources to families from all over. So you
Yeah.
don't have to be from Maryland in order to access us. Um, we have a lot of programs and events that are actually virtual. Part of that is because we're fortunate to have friends like you who invite us in these spaces, and then we meet families that are from other places. Some families are even international, that we've been
Mhm.
able to
That's
support.
awesome. Mhm.
Yeah, so it's there's an app for that.
That's and so, all right. And you even have resources to help people get started, because like you said, a lot of parents know their kid is struggling in school, like it's not going to work, the green light's not going to happen, and but they're afraid to get started. So you have upcoming, so for those who are watching the YouTube version of this, an
Mhm.
online workshop for new homeschool families. So tell us a little bit about that.
So the last Saturday morning in July,
Mhm.
we have a workshop for new homeschool families. We actually have monthly homeschool support groups for homeschool families throughout the year from September through April. But around the summertime, I'm on social media a lot, kind of watching trends and seeing what families are saying in homeschool groups. this is about the time where families are really saying to themselves, I'm not sending my child to school in the fall.
Mhm.
Where do I need to start? So during the summertime, we tend to have virtual support groups for families who are just getting started. And I come without an agenda. Families
Mhm.
submit questions, and we answer those questions and engage with them, live as we're
Fabulous.
participating in the event. So
Yeah.
whatever your question is, those questions can certainly be answered. And many of the questions are similar. How do I get started? What
Mhm.
do I need to do in my state? Where can I find out what my state requires? What
Mhm.
curriculum do I choose? How do I know where my child is? Do I have to use a curriculum based on the grade level that my child is in? So those are very
Yeah.
standard questions.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we have something unique and we sit together and your question will help someone else.
That is awesome. So I want people to know about this and to connect with it. So if somebody goes, "Oh, I would love to
Yes.
attend that online workshop," how will they get connected with you?
So the best way to find out about this workshop that's coming up in July, as well as those that occur throughout the school year, is to you can follow us on social media. On Instagram, our hashtag is at SETC for Spectrum Education Therapy Center Learning. So at SETC Learning. You can also check out our website. So registration is on our website, and we update our website every month with a new calendar, and we always have things going on for families. We also give free consultations to new families. So if you have something specific you'd like to talk about, or you're just getting started, or you've been homeschooling for a while and you just want to check in, with a fellow homeschool mom, I am more than happy to chat with you. And you can do that through our website as well. So free 30-minute consultations for all new families.
That's a wonderful resource. And if a parent like that poor grandmother who just needed someone to connect her with resources and give her some encouragement, how would they get connected to talk about how do I find what my kid needs?
Yeah, so you can definitely a free consult is definitely a great way to get started. But if you go to our website, there's contact information. You can give us a call and leave a voicemail. Either way, we're going to start off with a consultation. And if you're not local, in addition to being connected in the homeschool community, I'm connected with not homeschool, with professional groups nationally. So let's say you live in Texas or California. More often than not, I can throw out a question in one of those groups. Hey, does anybody know a specialist in this particular county or in this particular state? And then that's how we're able to help families connect, wherever they are.
Because we all look out for each other in homeschooling.
Yes.
Yeah. So I am going to put in the comment section and in the show notes when the podcast goes live, all the Instagram and Facebook and the website information, because this is just such a wonderful resource. So at Spectrum Education and Therapy Center. So Keisha, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
fitting us into your schedule. And I know, just like with that grandmother,
Mhm.
that there are many blessings to come to other homeschool family through the work that you do. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So this has been the Homeschool High School podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. Thank you to Seth Tillman for editing, and we'll see everyone next week.
Take care. Thank you.